This is Musie's YouTube podcast recorded at approximately 5:38 p.m. on the 31st of July, 2013. Today's subject's going to be a touchy one, a personal one. We're going to talk about divorce. And yes, I am going to give advice to both kids and adults. We're going to go with kids first, because, the young ones first. First, a little background. Being 24, almost ready to hit 25 years old, I have had divorced parents for as long as I can remember, since I was 10. And I still get stressed of it to this day, but not of divorce, but of having the time to be with each parent separately. You kind of learn some things about each parent. And so it has caused some strains even after the divorce was final, and it's going to be a bit of a ride. So children, if you are listening, I'm going to assume that you already been told your parents are getting a divorce. If you are not in that situation where you just think your parents are getting a divorce, please don't assume it. Talk to your parents about it. If you're worried that your parents are fighting a lot, talk to them, please. Don't go relying on divorce books and going, my parents are going to get divorced. You don't know. They haven't told you yet. Please, take the time to actually talk to your parents, please. Don't do it. Don't put yourself in so much stress that it ends up hurting you more than what it's worth. Please talk to your parents, okay, please? Okay? Now, children that are here listening to this because your parents are divorcing or have already officially divorced and it's went that swiftly, which, by the way, that's really rare. If your parents have divorced, has gone swiftly and quickly, that's really rare. If not, you might be in it for the long haul, and that's expected. I'm kind of looking at this from the darkest side because it is dark. It's not fair to say, oh, it'll be lollipops and rainbows, because it's not. It's not going to be lollipops and rainbows. It's going to be molten ice cream. Ugh, that sounds disgusting now that I think about it. Anyway, molten fungus ice cream. That's what's going to be like. It's going to be sweet in some parts, because there actually is a good thing. First off, you might actually notice as the days progress, if everything goes correctly, you actually might feel a little relieved. If your parents fight a lot, you'll notice there's none of that, and it might actually be good. If you got this out of the blue, at least you get 2 birthday parties. If your parents can do that, you get 2 birthday parties and get 2 different sets of gifts instead of, one collection of gifts. Other than that, it's going to be very stressful. And for that, I am so sorry this is happening to you, young one, if this is actually happening in your life. It's not uncommon. About half of marriages end in divorce. This isn't uncommon. It's not an uncommon thing. And it's a heartbreaking one. I'm going to give you some advice from a person who has gone through divorce since I was 10. And so, through the things that I'm still learning today, and from my past, I want to give children, and some adults, you're coming up too, don't think you're getting away with this, for how to cope, what to do about divorce. So I'm going by assumption you know what this means. Your parents are apart, and you're probably going to go through a lot of, unfortunate events. Kids, here's the first thing I need for you to understand, and this is very important. You are not to blame. You are not the fault. You are not the problem. You are not the reason why your parents are divorced. Don't feel like you have to bring them together. Don't feel like you have this obligation. It's unfortunate, but it's not like the Parent Trap. I hate using that as an example, but it's not where you can just bring them together and they'll just magically fall in love again. It's not that easy. I didn't have that. I really didn't try to force my parents together. I really didn't do that route. So it's not something I usually personally would go into and understanding. Because here's my issue is that basically I had a very swift divorce. But just because once the initial split happens doesn't mean it's all smooth sailing. I didn't have that feeling or gut feeling that it was my fault. In fact, when I went to, there's these brilliant people called psychiatrists, and you don't have to go to one. It's not forced. You don't have to go if you don't want to, and I would still suggest to try it if your parents advise it, because it can be a good resource for you. But when you have a divorced family and they take you to a psychiatrist, I remember a psychiatrist telling me, first thing was that it's not your fault. And I just looked at her and I was like, duh. Like, I didn't have that problem of, yeah, it's totally my fault. Because I didn't feel like I did anything wrong. I didn't have that common conception of, well, yeah, it has to be my fault. I didn't have that. That doesn't mean that I don't still feel bad. It's just that I didn't feel like as if, it was my fault. I actually kind of looked at her weird, and I was like, what are you talking about? No, duh, of course it's not my fault. I didn't do anything to them. It was just a really interesting, simplistic way of going, duh. But I know there are a lot of children who think that it's their fault, and it's not. It's not your fault. Don't you dare ever think it is. No child is ever a reason for a parent to split. It's never a reason. It's never a good enough reason. There sometimes are going to be very heavy reasons, complicated reasons, and sometimes there's simple reasons for why parents divorce. For each parent, it's different. And I don't expect you to go out into the world and figure out why they divorced. Because even if you found out why, sure, there will be a settle in your heart for that curiosity that's gone now, but it's not going to solve the problem. The problem isn't that your parents are getting divorced. The problem is that you feel insecure. You feel scared. I know you do. You're really uncomfortable. You may even feel unsafe. It may feel unfair, and it's not fair. But it's out of your control, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you kind of have to push through it. I did, at the age of 10. And I know there's probably some kids who are like 6 trying to get advice. You're really young, by the way, if you're listening to this. Why are you listening to this? You should be talking to your parents. But it's not something that you have to feel like you're in control of. But at the same time, you do have an opinion. If you're a little older, if you're like 12 or 14 years old, depending on the state, it varies. You may be able to have a choice of which parent you want to live with, depending on the state. I think some states it's 14, some it's 12, and I think some are 16. You'll have to look it up online and check. They should be able to tell you if you have questions about where you're going to live. They'll tell you whether you have a say or not. Because if you do have a say, it's the law. You will have a right to say, I want to live with mom, or I want to live with dad, or I don't want to live with either, I want to live with grandma. If that happens, it's a little different. That's advice I can't give, mostly because I was back and forth. I was constantly living one over the other, and I wasn't really, I didn't have a lot of stable. It was stable, but it wasn't sturdy. It was a lot of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that might happen for you. You might have to go back and forth every other week, every other weekend, half weekend, or half week, which is what we did for a while. It was Sunday through Wednesday and Wednesday through Saturday. And we would trade off at church. And we would trade off after school on Wednesday. That lasted for a little bit. And then, no, we went every other full week. Me and my sister both agreed we were going to do every full week. So every full week on Sunday we traded off. And that works actually best. If you can do it that way, it works the best to go full week. But I'll get into that later. In the meantime, I don't want you to feel like as if you can't do anything. Because the least you can still do is love them equally. There could be other reasons why your parents are divorcing. Some may be very dangerous reasons, some not dangerous reasons. I don't know what your circumstance is. I don't know what the reason is that your parents are splitting up, but that's okay. You don't have to know right now. You don't have to know the deep, dark secrets that belong in the pits of your basement. It's like, you can wait. It's alright. You don't have to know now. It's not important now. What matters now is that you love your parents and that they treat you right. As long as they treat you right and they do what is necessary for your support, that is what matters. And that's all that really matters right now. Once you get older, higher teens, lower 20s, then worry about it. But don't feel like you don't have anybody to talk to. You have the internet. You have the internet. You have a beautiful thing called Facebook and Tumblr and YouTube, and being able to investigate the world. Maybe you have an abusive father or mother, or maybe you have self-abusing mother or father. You may never see them again, maybe on special visitations, or maybe it's just a divorce because they don't love each other anymore. Whatever the reason, don't put that negative light on you. It's not your fault. Don't you dare ever think that way, and it's not. Talk to your parents even after the divorce, please. It's something I need to start doing, but I have personal reasons why I don't, but it's still not something you shouldn't do. Talk to your parents even after the divorce. Call your dad if you don't live with him. Call your mother if you don't live with her. Talk to the other side of the family, like your mom's mom and dad. Talk to the dad's family, your dad's mom and dad. Talk to your other half of your family if they're still able to, because they are important parts of your life. Family is a completely different ballgame. I'll make a vlog. I don't even know if I've made a vlog or a podcast about it. No, I have. My definition of family. I have made a podcast about that. That's important. You may even have to create your own family where it's not based upon genetics, where it might even have to be based upon, it's not based upon who your mother, your father, or your relatives. It might be based on your family that you make at school or your friends. Even, sometimes your online friends are important too. They're real people on the other side of those screens. And you may have to create your own family, and that's okay. It's not replacing, it's creating a new one. There's nothing wrong with that. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Though I can't deny that I do feel like as if divorce is a very unfortunate thing for kids. In a way, you might feel relieved. It varies. Some kids will, some kids won't. It just depends on the situation. You might feel relieved to see that your parents are happier apart. Maybe your mother will go remarry. Maybe she'll date. Maybe dad will date. I don't want to give false hopes. Maybe they'll get back together. I doubt it. It doesn't happen very often. That's rare. Don't put hopes on it. If you do, you'll end up brokenhearted. Don't depend on that. Because they're not going to get together. They're not. Don't think that. Because then at least if they do, it's a good surprise. But if you keep thinking about that and kind of let that drill in your stomach, it'll make you sick. Stress hurts. Don't be stressed. It's okay. Let your stress out. State your opinion on things. If you want to do something, bring it up to both parents. They may have to both share payments for stuff, lessons and school. They'll have to pay half. So talk to both of them. Talk to them both and go, hey, Mom, I want to do this. Hey, Dad, I want to do this. And tell them the same thing. Don't tell one parent you want to swim and one you want to do karate and you only want to do one or the other. Tell them both the same thing. I want to do swimming. I want to swim. I want to swim and karate. I want to swim and karate. I want to do just karate or I just want to do karate. Tell them both the exact same thing, no matter what. Talk to people. Talk to friends. Talk to family. Talk to adults. They'll help you. They're not afraid. They'll help you. The really good ones, the ones who want to be your friend, are the ones that'll help you the most. And they're the ones that'll have your back. Don't worry, it'll pass. I can't say it'll ever be over, but I can at least say it does get better. And that's important to know. It does get better. It's okay. It will always get better. Last minute stuff I'll say before I get the parents involved. I'm on to you guys. You're next. Is that be prepared for schedules. Be prepared for stress. Be prepared for your parents to be overly stressed. So be good. Do what they ask. It's okay. They're stressed too. They're very stressed. Be prepared for complicated scheduling. And be prepared for confusing ownership. I can't get into this now, but you might run into some ownership issues. Keep some stuff at mom's, keep stuff at dad's. But be prepared, because if you're split parenting and you're both going to, you or your siblings, or if you're by yourself, are going to both parents, you might have some ownership issues. Be prepared to put your foot down and say, no, that is mine. I want to decide where that goes. Your parents can't decide where your stuff goes. To a point. To a point, they can't. But there are certain things like your clothes. You should be able to tell where you want your clothes as long as there are clothes at both houses. And that goes for your toys, if you want certain things at certain people's houses. Be prepared for ownership problems, okay? Be prepared for fights over the dog, or fights over the cat, or fights over the car. Be prepared for a lot of babysitting nights. You'll get to meet new babysitters, potentially, unless you already have one. And be prepared for mistakes, because they're going to happen. But also be prepared for the ones who love you the most will step up the most. Those are the people you want to hold on to. Now, children, if you need any more advice, you can welcome the pod, post a comment on the video below. On the comment section, I'll answer what I can. Now, in the meantime, you may now leave. It's time for us adults to interact and be adults. Because I have a problem with some of you guys. Not even joking right now. I have a problem with some of you people, and I've got a bone to pick with some divorced parents. Because, my parents were not the wisest of divorced parents. Okay? My parents are not the wisest. Because they messed up. Okay? A lot. Be prepared for mistakes. Now, here's the first thing I want you to understand, adults. Don't let your emotions or the fact that you want to get a divorce bottle up. Talk to your significant other. Don't wait till the last minute and slap a divorce paper in their face. It's disrespectful to them, and it's also kind of disrespectful for yourself. Because you need to give it time. You're supposed to communicate and talk. Damn it, talk. Actually communicate with each other. Don't just slam papers in each other's face and go, well, I'm going to it, I want a divorce now. Talk to each other. Be adults, okay? Tell each other how you feel, and if you guys say, okay, we need a divorce, talk about it a little bit, organize some things outside of court. The more stuff you try to decide inside of the courthouse, the more it's coming out of your bank. You're going to have to give up some things. Okay? It's a divorce. It's more expensive than a marriage. You thought that wedding was expensive? Wait till you get divorced. It's expensive as hell. So get ready for that. Also, I'm going to get some of this advice from a website, aacap.org. It is the American Academy of Children and Adolescent Psychiatry. I'm actually online right now. They have a small dotted list of things that they want everybody to understand about divorce. And quite frankly, I think it is important for people to understand what problems you might occur with and what you need to do. So I am going to maneuver my stuff so that I can look at it better, with better vision, instead of having to turn my head a complete 180 degrees to read my notes. So, here is the first thing you need to do. If you are officially getting a divorce, and you're going to officially write that paperwork and get it all done, here's what you need to do for your kids. Tell your children together, as adults, in front of them together, and tell them that you are getting split up, what that means for them, what that means for you, and reassure them that you both still love them and will always be their parent. Don't have one of you only tell them, have you both do it. Keep it simple, keep it straightforward. Tell them, please tell them, if they bring it up or if they feel that way, or if you sense that they're feeling that way, tell them it is not their fault, that they have nothing to do with this. It's a sad and upsetting time for everyone. And do not discuss each other's faults or problem with the child. Those are the main bullet points they have from the site. Do not tell your children of each other's problems. Now that I put my laptop aside, it's time for my side of this. Here's the problem I have with half of you. One, you talk about each other all the time. Don't do it. Okay? Here's my problem. When you have a mother and a father and they split up, they start using the child as a scapegoat, as a way to gain life advice, which always seems weird to me. Why would you go to a 10-year-old for life advice? But you tend to tell about each other to the child. As urging as this sounds, shut your mouth, keep it shut, and keep it zipped. Here's why. You'll guilt trip your child. You may even say something you don't mean to. You may tell them something that'll make them hate the other parent. As much as you find the custody battle a little easier if the child just simply hates the other person, it doesn't help their ego and their psychiatry, what do you want to call it, growth? The way they grow mentally and emotionally to hate somebody? What kind of person do you think you are? That's not okay. You need to understand that it's not about you anymore. It's not about that relationship. It's not about you now. You're going to be a single parent here in about a year if you are officially making the divorce now. 2 years, maybe. It's about the kid now. So you need to grow up. Here's some things I would like for you to understand. First, do not have your child become the telephone in telephone. What do I mean by this? Simple. Don't let your child be the note taker and the note giver. Here's what I mean. This happens a lot, and it needs to stop. I see it all the time. It happened to me. When you are divorcing and you need to tell the other person something, don't write a letter, put it in an envelope, and then hand it to the child to hand it to the father, or hand it to the mother, or hand it to whoever. Don't do that. Be a man or be a woman. Be an adult. Call them yourself. It's not fair to have the child be the scapegoat or the telephone and telephone. It's not fair for them to be in the middle. What's worse is even if you did write it down and the parent asks what's this all about, the child could accidentally make it worse. Also, it makes the child feel like an object in between, how do I want to say this? Almost like as if they want to try to become the thing that I just talked about having to try to make them together. Because think about it, if a child wants you together again, they may try to say and do things that you don't want them to hear. And in an attempt to maybe getting you back together, how is going to the child going to help you in accomplishing your goals if they want you back together and you want to be separated? That doesn't help the child's psychiatry. That helps nothing. It confuses the child, and it makes nothing worth it. Another piece of advice, be prepared for debt. Lots and lots of debt. You are going to be in debt for the longest part of your life after this divorce. You chose this path, now run it. Because you're going to run into a bunch of money. And I'm sorry I sound very stern. But it's also because my parents decided to give me guilt trips. My parent, parentheses S, decided to give me guilt trips about the other side. Your mother did this, your father did that. That didn't help me at all. It made me feel like crap. Made me feel like shit. Don't let your child be the middle ground. Don't go to your child if you have a problem with the other person. Please go to your other adult friends. Don't go to your child. Now, the only reason you should ever warn your child of the other half is if he is abusive of alcohol, physical, mental, and emotional abuse, and you have permission from the courthouse. Because trust me, the last thing you want to do is to tell your kid your father's a horrible abuser, and you find out the guy hasn't laid a hand on a fly. And you're just trying to make him look bad. Or her, for that matter. Maybe you're trying to make her look like a skank. Guess what? Don't do it. You're going to ask for a world of trouble later. Because you're going to look at it as a liar. And you're going to make her look bad. Which, if they find out you did that, is borderline child abuse. Don't do it. You'll end up in a world of hurt, and it's not worth it. Hey, look at that. I'm actually almost done with this podcast. Haha. Didn't expect that to come. Anything else I want to tell you adults? Learn to give and take. Learn to be accepting of being taken away some things. Don't be surprised if things get taken away from you. I'm talking to both you parents out there. Don't be surprised if things are given to you that's unexpected. Try to settle things outside of the courthouse if you can. The less you do in the courtroom, the better. Listen to your children. Listen to your children. I'm going to say this one more time. Listen to your children, because here's what I'm trying to convey to you. They have a voice, and they want to be heard. It is a royal pain. If permanent, mind you, permanent stay of a child ends up in your possession, whoever it goes to, the other one's going to do what's called child support. I don't know how the laws work for that. But don't discuss financial problems with your kid. Don't discuss how your father hasn't paid child support. Don't discuss how he buys beer. Don't discuss how he only hangs out with his friends. Focus on you. Don't give me crap about how you want to talk about the other half. As a kid, I got that a lot, and I still kind of do. Not as much, but kind of. Be an adult. When you divorce, this is the basic bottom line of this whole deal. Basic bottom line, you're divorcing. The only one who should be skipping boundaries is your kid. But it's also a channel only made for them. Only the child can go back and forth, and only the child can judge either of you. Don't use that channel as a way to get to the other side. Use a phone or email or write them a letter and mail it yourself. Don't use the child as a scapegoat. Don't use them as a mail deliverer. Don't use them for anything other than to love. You are to take care of that child, not abuse and use them. They are a precious part of the other half in which you are trying to split apart from, but they will always be a part of you. Treat them with the most upward respect and the education that they need in order for them to survive in this world. Otherwise, you're going to find out real damn quick that they might turn to some things that they don't like partially because of the reason you fucked up. I'm not talking about divorcing in the first place, but because you didn't want to treat your child with the utmost respect and give them the proper education they need in order to grow into moral, decent human beings, because you couldn't pull it off. Don't come crying to me when you turn them into the telephone and they turn to stuff you don't want them to turn to. Not my problem. Take turns, kids. They taught you in 2nd grade. You might want to practice it now. It sucks. I get it. Even to this day, I still hear crap from one side or the other, and in fact, I don't even talk to my mom and dad anymore because of personal reasons. Not because of the divorce itself, but because I've gotten to know each other's side. Through my own eyes, not theirs. I had to ignore everything they've each said, and I've had to use my own eyes to discover each side. That is my problem, not each other's. I don't want to see children becoming the toy for you two to get your jobs taken care of and your agendas. For starters, it's not their business. It's not. Divorce is your business, but you have to business in the front of the courthouse, and love in the back. Because if you do it the other way around, it's going to get dangerous. The idea is probably to do both at the same time, but you have to learn when it's time to give up. And sometimes you just gotta give up. And it's okay to give up a little bit. Because only the child can make up their mind at the end of the day, especially if they're of age. They have to decide, not you. Don't fight if they don't want to be with you. Don't feel like you've lost them. Don't get jealous if the opposing spouse gets married. Don't do it. It's not worth your time. If they divorce and go get remarried, go get remarried. Nobody's stopping you. It's a freedom. It's a right. You have every right to remarry. Don't get jealous. Don't give me that. Don't give me that smirk. Don't do that. Probably should have went over to the kids and talked about how they had step-parents and step-sisters and brothers. And you can't fit that into a half-hour-long podcast. You really can't. That's okay. I'm not here to talk about that. That's really the only thing I forgot to mention to children. Bring your kids back. Just tell them to come here. Okay? Get your kids over here. Just listen up. Okay? You listening? Your parents may remarry. You may gain new family members someday. Never know. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe they'll remarry. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But speak up if you have a problem with them. If your mother's dating a guy, or if your dad's dating a girl, or maybe guy, girl. Speak up. If you don't like them, tell them. If they really love you, they'll take your advice. You have a voice. You have power to say, I don't like this woman. You have every right to say it. Now, whether they'll take your advice is one thing. But state your opinion. I don't like her daughter. She's mean to me. Talk to them both. Talk to your parent first. And mind you, don't talk to the other parent about your parent that's dating. So, for example, if your father is dating, don't talk to your mother about it. That's none of her business. You leave it out of it. If the father wants to mention anything, the father can mention something. Don't feel like you have to hold secrets either. It's okay to tell them about certain things. But you also have to understand it's their life. Feel open to talk about things. But parents, don't drill it out of them. Let them talk when they want to. Don't drill them of information. If they want to tell you something, fine. Parents, also don't feel like as if you have to tell them your father shouldn't know about this. That's not fair. They're your kids, damn it. If they want to share to their father about how great of a Christmas you had with your mother, I think you have every right to. And that same could go for your father to your mother. You had a great Christmas at your father's, you brought gifts to have over your mother's house. That's totally fine, too. If you have a gift from your father you want to take to your mother's house, you should have every right to take it. It is yours now. It is yours. You get to choose where you want things. You should have that right. To some degree. I feel like I can go on and on, but I'm at a half-hour mark, so I'm going to end it there. I'm going to leave the comments open. If you have other suggestions and advice about divorce to both the kids and the parents, leave a comment below. I'll be glad to listen to them and vote thumbs up on them because it is very helpful. And I will talk to you guys later. It's a pretty good podcast, honestly. I think I might have repeated myself a couple times, but that's alright. Got the hiccups. And a stuffy nose. It's really dusty in here. I am not kidding. I'm not crying in any way. Swear to the Holy Bible, I'm not crying. It's stuffy in my room. And it is like humid in here. I don't know what's going on. The air conditioning's not on. That might make a difference. Oh, by the way, slap in the face. I live with my ex-stepmother, so imagine how my mom and dad both feel. Yeah, that's for a different day. But anyway, I will talk to you guys later. Please be wise. Be wise and show your age. That's all I'm asking. Please be wise. Be smart. Be loving. No matter what, the kids, are important. They're what's important. So please keep that in mind. Any other advice, leave them below, and I will talk to you guys later. This is Musi for the YouTube podcast. Number 16. 16. Almost at the 20 mark. Almost at the 20 goal. So we'll see what happens. Alright, guys? I will talk to you guys later. Peace out. And remember, God loves you. Woo! Girl! I have no idea where I was going with that, but okay.